Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Unstuck movement, true testimonies of breakthrough. Today, I have the incredible Stephen Falk with us on the podcast. And Stephen, I'd love to jump into a powerful question right off the bat. I love the fact that your goal is to help teams improve and to help leaders work better with their teams. And I love talking about decision making because it's something that I've struggled with my entire life, being decisive, right? So how can leaders improve their decision making and decisiveness when they're under pressure?
Thanks, Rob. Hey, thanks for having me. You're getting right into the meat of it. Most leaders don't understand that there's a battle of the brains going on in their own mindset. And so there's basically two operating systems that are at war with each other in their own minds. The minute a leader can start discerning between what we call front brain operating system and the back brain operating system and can tell the nuance as to which one is winning the current sort of thought war, boom, game change.
Oh, okay. So we got to get into that. The front brain operating system and the back brain operating system. Let me save that for a second in my head as I introduce everybody to the platform. These podcasts are for you to find breakthrough in your life and in your business. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. Make sure you check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Over 400 entrepreneurs from all over the world, heart-centered, servant leader entrepreneurs waiting to help you grow in so many different ways. Check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Also, quick reminder, if you're ready to take your authority in the field to a new level, to become the go-to expert in what you do, make a lasting impression and impact in people's lives, and really elevate yourself to where your value truly is, I would love to help you get there. At robzwentz.com, we have the Pro Podcaster Academy. You can join the wait list right now and be a part of an amazing platform to help you become the personal brand you've always wanted to become. robzwentz.com. Today, we have the incredible Stephen Falk with us, CEO and founder of Switchback Systems Corporation. Applies over 2 decades of experience in marriage and family therapy to help leaders and teams perform under pressure. His Switchback Foundation Training equips teams with practical tools for transformation, resilience, and mental toughness. I can't wait for this conversation. So, Stephen, talk about diving in more here about the front brain, back brain. Give us some more detail on that.
Oh, sure. So the application is in the boardroom or even boots on the ground. So let's start in the boardroom. So things are heating up. Not everybody is, buying into whatever it is that you're going for. And so there you're sitting there and you got your suit on, you're looking good. However, you're starting to get what we call like a brain torment. There's this chatter going on I can't believe that jerk. I can't believe she just gave me that look. I can't believe that PowerPoint slide sucks. There's all these little chatter going on. That is not the front brain operating system. That's the back brain saying, hey, buddy, you should protect yourself. Hey, if you don't stand up for yourself, there's going to be a consequence. You know that you're like $450,000 in debt and you shouldn't have bought that boat. If you don't do that right now, before long, you're going to, and it's like, what in the world? And this is happening in the middle of a boring PowerPoint presentation from your CFO. So then all of a sudden the CFO goes, so what do you think, Steve? And you go, and now that's the moment. Which operating system is going to open your mouth and speak the next 3 words? Is it going to be the back brain going like self-rejection connected to rebellion, the fight response? Or is it going to be the front brain, which is like, I've been here before. I understand this. I got wisdom that goes beyond even my generation. That's the moment. So in the boardroom, that's the deal. Our company started not in the boardroom, but on boots on the ground. It was on the west coast of Canada, which is the steepest logging in North America as far as like mountains and giant trees. And they had a basic issue of fatalities and injuries. And they're asking the question, how can we do this? Because the standard way of sort of fixing this problem is highly regulated, highly certified. So you paint everything yellow and you put, warning signs and all the rest. You can't do that with a logger that's lugging up a mountain with a chainsaw, because he's on his own, in his own mind. And so their question was, how can we train like a logger to be able to make amazing metacognition, like thinking about his thoughts? How can we train them to be mentally tough in the heat of the moment when no one's watching and they're absolutely losing their mind? I mean, they use different swear words than that, but anyway, they're losing their mind. And how can they first see it, then understand what's going on in the battle of the brains, and then to be able to manage and make a decision that's going to save their life. And the truth is, we kind of cracked the code for that. And so our company started, me, a family therapist, was like hijacked into the logging industry on Vancouver Island, Canada. And I was ready for it, but what a ride. And the results were spectacular. They measure things like medical incident reporting and things like that. And so it was numbers that they've never seen before. And it was that whole idea of the battle of the brains.
So how did that happen from family therapy to leading into the logging industry? How the heck does that even happen?
Well, you gotta. Some people think it's serendipitous. I tend to believe that it's more God guiding my world. But the way it played out for me was I'm going to take it way back. When I was 2 years old, there was an epidemic of meningitis in my little farming community, and a bunch of babies died. And I was 2 years old, and I ended up with full-blown meningitis, completely paralyzed. My parents are taking me to the hospital to die, and they're bawling their eyes out. I'm fourth born out of 5 kids. And my dad just gave up his teaching job, was going to go back to college and become a missionary. So he's like, wow, is this the price I have to pay? I have to, from the biblical world, right? He's like, I have to give up my Isaac in order to fulfill my calling. Like, what in the world? So my mom, she's holding me, right? They just pray, say, God, we don't know what you're doing, but we give you Stephen. We give him to you. To get to the hospital, and there's these nuns, because it's a Catholic hospital, nuns around our family doctor. He goes to touch my neck to try to bend my neck, and I'm instantly healed in the moment, like the room filled with divine jello. And my dad said if he would have jumped in the air, he would have just floated. He said, guaranteed. He said, this is and there was not a common thing in our little ethnic community for this to happen. So the doctor goes, he checked all my joints, goes, looks like you got your son back. They drove home, but the truth is, I don't think they ever got him back. So that's my origin story. So I was a weirdo right from the start. So I was a kid that I think the veil between the supernatural and the natural was kind of messed up just through that moment. And I fit in from a likability point of view, fine. Some people found me annoying because I was a younger cousin that had to battle my way, but I've come 100% fit in, but I never really fit into this is just 9 to 5, trying to make this thing happen. So when I dialed it forward, I think that's a mindset thing. And I think most people, if they would look hard enough into their origin story, they could find a piece of that intervention in their life. And it makes a world of difference when you hit hard times or when you have to take a challenge or be brave. So there's it. But then, of course, I got hammered in school by not being able to read and write. And that was like, hold on here. So I honestly thought I'd become a woodworker, like a carver on some outer island, making wooden ducks for rich people. That's what I thought my life would be. But I'm married team. So I married someone that was beautiful and smart and academic, and she faked my way through college and did half of my master's degree. And so the power of team. So all of a sudden I plunked myself into being a marriage and family therapist. And all my friends were like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Hold on 1 second. Did you say you married team?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Some people marry a competitor. Some people actually marry their enemy. That sounds odd, right? But they marry someone they want to battle, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Some people marry someone that they want to live their independent, successful lives. I married, if you capitalize the whole thing, I married TEAM. I married team. Seriously. So she, together, combined, made my world move forward. I couldn't have moved forward without her. I wasn't able to write an email, honestly. And so, it's humiliating because I've changed. I've trained my brain, and now with AI, I can do anything I need to do. But for the first 20 years of my career, this poor woman had to babysit my work.
Wow.
Yeah, it was humiliating because it's one of the operating systems in your brain is I've got really good ideas and I'm not dumb. And then the other side of your operating system, the back brain says, Steve, what part of 3 out of 100 spelling tests in your final year of high school do not understand. Don't you remember your high school teacher saying, everyone get out of your chairs and write your name on the continuum of 0 to 100, what your spelling result was? Because I was this annoying student that could run the classroom from a soft science point of view. And so his goal was trying to crush me in the hard science.
Yeah.
So there, I think I was a bit of an extreme with that battle of the brains, but the more and more I meet with people, I realize that battle goes on in everyone's life. So if I roll forward, I had to be an entrepreneur because I don't think I was hireable because I needed a little bit of babysitting. And so my wife and we launched our private practice, and I was a really great family therapist. She tested brains, and we're just doing everything. But I'm coaching hockey too, because we got 4 kids, and I'm Canadian. So of course it's hockey. It's pretty cliche, but it's really true. So, and it's not like high level hockey, it's just regular hockey. And there's one kid that should have been playing high level hockey. He goes through the tryouts and the evaluations. He gets cut from the high level team because of his stinky attitude. And he gets plopped into my team because I'm the family therapist of all the coaches. The other coaches are like loggers and owning sports stores. And, like there's normal people. I'm the weirdo that's, that's supposed to be able to tune this kid up. So he comes on my team, and I win him over just because this is what you do. It's the power of team and the belief that people can change. I win him over like, well, what do you think? How much time do you have to win a kid like that over? He's 14. He's copying a giant attitude, right? Like maybe 3 minutes or 30 seconds. So
yeah, not much time.
I used whatever skills I developed, and I just won him over, and he transformed. His dad was still really mad, but he transformed. And then about a month later, he tuned up his dad and said, hey, change your attitude. I'm loving this year. I'm loving my team. I love my coach. Like, get over it. So his dad was still being tormented by his back brain. The kid had already bought into our team with his front brain. And so we roll forward a couple months, and his dad ended up being like a divisional leader of the biggest logging organization on our island. Had about 1,500 loggers in the bush. And they were having this very serious conversation going. We get this one operation that is just chronically toxic. Like they do kill people, but they will continue to kill people just by their lack of communication, their lack of trust, and how the union hates management hates the union. Someone's got to put a stick in the spokes and change this chronic systemic problem. And they're shooting around different ideas. Oh, this university's got this leadership program. This got this. All these different. They're spitballing. So this hockey kid's dad puts up his hand and goes, "I think we should give my kid's hockey coach a try." And they're going, "Say what?" And he goes, "Yeah, you tuned up my kid in half a day. So honestly, we should give him a try." So I'm always. Even when we do, when we hear people's journey or their career path, I'm always looking for that ticket, that thing that's unusual. It says so Steve, how did you become found an international consulting firm? And what are you guys doing in New Mexico and Australia or whatever, right? Or Mongolia? It's oh yeah, that's a good question. Well, I was coaching hockey one day, minding my own business. But then you've got to have that origin story. I think you got to go, hold on. Am I qualified and certified to do this? And the answer is, if not you, who kind of thing, right? And then you go back to find that, search into your story and go, hold on. I was supernaturally healed at age 2. For what reason? For what purpose? And then I'm married so well, and my wife has helped me build out my professional life, and I got these kids, a life, and I've always wanted to make a bigger splash than just sort of a little farm community splash. There's something in me, right? I felt the stage, and so when this opportunity came, I think I was primed already in my mindset, and sort of I've never really made a collage dream board. I think those are really cool things to do, but I've never done that because I'm So if you know your origin story and you can see your gift flowing through, then when the opportunity that comes, you don't spoil it. So in this case, it didn't spoil it. Within a year, that operation that had 80 employees and about 12 managers, they went from 50 grievances a year to 4. And they transformed their culture for the first time in 40 years.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and
probably saved a lot of lives. It saved a lot of families, their dads.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the crazy thing. Like every step of the way, you're asking the question, what is going to make the greatest impact or value for these people, rather than how can I cram my program? I didn't have a program. I was making it up as we go. I was thinking, gosh, they are just so reactive to each other. We've got to find the motivation. And the wild thing, the motivation had nothing to do with, like, the seed of change wasn't work related. It was personal. So the union leader and the manager, they're both new grandparents, and they had a lecture from both of their wives. And now the question is, as a leader, as a coach, or like your audience, right? I'm begging you, become 3-dimensional in your question making. Like, ask questions that dig beyond someone's career path or what's going on here. Like, ask those unusual questions that gets you into different realms and different spaces. Because for whatever reason, I'd been poking around in both of those men's lives enough that they were willing to sort of show their underbelly, and both of them had their wives basically give them the riot act, which was, hey buddy, I put up with your toxicity for like 35 years. I'm just letting you know that if you pulled that back brain stunt, which is like F-bombing and losing your cool and being ignorant at home in front of the grandkids, and it impacts my ability to have access to our grandkids, because I want to be able to babysit them a couple times a week. If that impacts it, I'm letting you know I'm leaving you and I'm going to grandkids. Both of them, let's say supernaturally, had that conversation. Their wives had that conversation with them. So they had a problem to solve. They could care less about work. They were willing to F-bomb and pound their fist and throw their hard hat down the hill. They're willing to do that for the rest of their career. What they weren't willing to do was lose their marriage. Mm-hmm. That became the seed of motivation. Both those men did a 180. They influenced their teams down to 4 grievances. Wow. I know. So as a coach, I try to be inspired by this crazy story. It wasn't about like SWOT analysis. I mean, there's nothing wrong with SWOT because it gets you in, right? It wasn't about like trying to come up with like some sort of some org chart or some Gantt chart that's going to streamline their decision-making process. It's looking for the mystery, the treasures in people's lives. You find them and pooh. I'll tell you another one. Can I tell you another one?
Yes, you sure can, but I have to pause. We have to shout out the sponsor of the podcast real quick. When we come back in 1 minute, though, I want to hear more, and I have so many questions because this is fascinating, Stephen. So we'll be back in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So, Stephen, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface here, but I need to know, before you go into this next story, you know, one of the biggest things I do for myself and I do for others is practicing being bold and having conversations that need to happen, saying things that need to be said. What do you think it is about your style of having these conversations with these logging men? Sound like some pretty gruff, tough men who probably don't get too personal very often. What is your strategy for getting below the surface and asking the right questions to get them to reveal these things so they can have these breakthroughs?
I don't think I can give it 1, 2, 3 because I don't have it sort of formulated in my brain, but I'll just give you some of my top 5. Let's say, number 1, I never try to pose. I never try to be them. And that goes for the CEOs or rough loggers that are missing teeth. Like you just got to come in humble. But with some sort of resource. Second is keep your eyes wide open. And in our company we call it tickets. Look for the tickets. It might be the smallest nuance, a little flicker of something, the way they're fiddling with their pen, and then be bold enough to. In our company, we talk about. We talk, like I'm always training and talking, and we're coaching as a team together. We say our job is to ask that extra question, the question that other people aren't asking, the question that their colleagues aren't asking, and it might just be a question of like, man, you're picking on your hand. What's that about?
Oh, okay.
I know, because it's socially inappropriate to ask that question of, you know, the HR person, like why she just busted the cap of her pen. Like, you know, like, look at mine. It's missing the top right now. I'm fiddling with the pen right now. Like, why is the top of my pen fiddling? Well, man, that one little ticket, if you're paying attention, you go, oh, it's like, man, I fiddle all the time. And I think it's part of what I had a hard time with visual closure. And so sort of, and blah, blah, and all of a sudden they say, what do you mean visual closure? Another ticket. And within probably 25 seconds, you're in a realm that no one has ever asked before. Okay.
Okay. Let me pause you 1 second, because this just happened to me the other day with a client, and she got a really bad headache while we were talking about her desire, but also resistance to spread her message. This message that she's kind of created, and a mission she's kind of created that's outside of her business. It's a nonprofit. And during this conversation, she got a massive headache, and after the conversation was over, I thought to myself, Rob, why didn't you ask about the headache? Yeah. So that's just great insight, because there are things that pop up in conversations that are like, oh, there's a clue. So go ahead.
Yeah. So like with my friends, or like if I'm hunting, I stay quiet. I don't ask those questions. Or if I hunt very little, but a lot of my friends hunt. But I try to just hang out with the cool kids. Or if it's like that awkward moment before church starts, like I don't ask those weirdo questions then, because I'm not being paid for that. I just try to blend in and be normal. Right. But I think us as coaches and people that are helping people with leadership development, our goal is not to blend in. Our goal is to stand out. The other thing we do, which is maybe unusual, so we're basically a travel company. So we travel to all over the place, and we're always training teams, usually like a horseshoe setting, 3 days. And there's some science behind the 3 days. Morning group sessions, afternoon one-on-ones. There's some science and magic with that one-on-ones. You know that the resistors and the people that are sitting in the back room going, here we go again. I can't believe we're doing more training, right? If you don't win them over, you're not going to shift the culture of the crew or the organization. And typically you don't shift them in a day. However, over a 3-day period, I'm telling you, most of them with our experience, they will come into what we call team. And so part of it is looking at the mindset I'm doing a little bit of coaching for your listeners right now, is look at the mindset that you have. Do you think that you can shift the unshiftable to start with? And if you are gonna, what do you need to bake into your mindset and into your strategy and tactical plan in order to make it happen? One of the things we do in our company, we measure home cooked meals. So our team is in Arizona or New Mexico or the Appalachian Mountains, and they'll come back from the team and come back from their road trip and say, how did you do? And say, Steve, it was awesome. We got into the manager's home, had a beautiful meal, got to meet, got to meet her husband, blah, 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 blah. And they say, boom. At that moment, I'm going to tell your audience straight up. At that moment, you do not have competition. I mean, you can blow it yourself. Like you can do something dumb and lose trust. But at that point, they're not going online trying to find another coach to help them because you crossed that barrier. And so, is it appropriate to cross the barrier? Yeah, because your job is to help organizations and individuals and leaders have breakthrough. How are you going to have the breakthrough without having the unusual question? So that's probably a top 5.
That's amazing, man. I've never heard somebody talk about coaching like that. It's really cool. I love the way your approach, and it sounds, well, it makes sense why it works so well. I can clearly see why that would work.
Let me tell you one of the origin stories. So this is before I was even a consultant. I was still just being a family therapist, but I was at the final sort of season of that, because you could tell when seasons come and go in your professional life. And so already there was a lot of industry people starting to come into my office, because I had an office down a long driveway and it wasn't in town. And so and I was a man, and there weren't that many men that were like family therapists. And so I had this guy come up, and he happened to be like a logging manager. He had about 120 employees, big super duty truck kind of idling in the park in the driveway. He comes in with his high vis, boots on, sits down like 55 years old, like just takes over the whole room with his ego. I'm like, I don't know if I'm charging enough for this. Like that was my which brain is that? Front or back?
Oh, that's back brain.
Yeah, there you go. So I go, come on, Stevie boy. You were healed for this. Like, seriously, you got to help him. And that's the front brain coaching myself in the moment, in the heat of the moment. So I straighten my shoulders up and I just ask him, what's your expectation? Are you hoping to just crush whatever it is that you're dealing with like right away? Or you want to take like 6 months? Like, what's your plan? He goes, get her done, Steve, get her done. And so I go, okay, this might sting. And I said, tell me what's up. He goes, here it is. I'm a pretty charismatic guy. I'm pretty likable. I hate the office. So I like to get out in the bush and visit the crews and see my people, right? I get out there. I'm doing great. I'm like high-fiving and laughing and joking, and we're having our fun. And then I see something that's unsafe. I completely lose my mind. I say the most rude, disrespectful things. I throw things. I physically like handle people, and then I hate myself. Get in my truck, drive up a side hill, shed a tear even, and I have massive regret and shame. And I promise myself I'm never going to do that again. So I tie myself to my office chair for like 3 weeks. But I can't help it because I love people. I end up going back out on the field. I see something unsafe, and I go through the same pattern all my career. So he's telling me this story, and you could just, as a coach, right, you get caught up in the story and go, "Oh, time for him to do some self-reflection." Yeah, maybe it's time for you to ask an unusual question, because somehow you have to interrupt his neurological processing. He's got all these pathways in his brain that have formulated how he tells a story, when he gets to laugh. When it becomes dead serious. I think part of our job is to put the stick in the spokes in a kind, respectful way, but I think that's what we're getting paid for, partly. And so while he's telling the story, I'm watching everything. I'm watching the pen, right, and see what he's doing. And his right eye does some flicker thing. And I just asked the question, what was that? I kind of lean into it. I'm going, what is going on there? And I get this message in my mind, 12 years old. And I'm telling you, it wasn't like, I don't see any words or numbers just because of dyslexia. So it was a impression, but not even like a vision in my mind. And it only was there for like a nanosecond, it was gone. So you can easily go have a talk with yourself, just leave it alone. However, I've trained in our company, we train towards valuing that moment. So I go, hold on a second. He goes, what? He goes, when you were telling your story, your right eye did something funky. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, I don't know. He said, well, what? He goes, well, it looked like it was like you flashed into like 12 years old. He goes, Oh, you're good. And all his Bravo, just like, like put a pound of butter in the microwave and hit 1.5 minutes, just like the Bravo and the Eagle, just like this little puddle and go. I say, tell me the story. He goes, I was 12 years old. I was in a tin boat with my brother, who's 14, off of the coast, and the wind blew up, and we were losing the boat, so we decided to swim to shore. It's the ocean. I made it to shore, and my brother drowned. Oh. And he was the hero of the family, and I was the cull. I couldn't read and write. I was an idiot. I was going nowhere. He was going everywhere. We were putting all of our hopes and dreams on him. My parents are alcoholics. My sister was out to lunch, and he said, I killed him. I killed my brother. My parents sort of would have preferred that it would have been me rather than him. And wait, which brain is telling the story right now?
The back brain.
Yeah. So where is that memory being stored right now? Front or back? Back brain. So that is an unprocessed memory. We call those memory X's. So now we push this forward. So he's got this unprocessed memory being reasonably stored in the back brain, because that's where these memories get stored temporarily unless you process them. Now he's 55 years old. He goes out to look at one of his logging operations. He sees something unsafe, and he gets a shot of adrenaline and cortisol that sets up that synapses, and the synapses going, I need to create meaning and purpose and a landing pad. I need a landing pad for this adrenaline right now. So the brain does this Google search like instantly, and it goes into the back brain halfway up the mountain, goes into a cave with a vault with a lock, unlocks it without his desire to unlock it. Like the front brain has lost sort of sovereignty at this moment. The back brain unlocks this trapped memory. It pops open. A 12-year-old sticks his head out and says, it's your fault, buddy, and it's irrational, and you better react right now like an idiot. And he goes, okay, something must die. And he reacts, pow. He has the regret of a 12-year-old, like crying as a 55-year-old. Doesn't make sense, right? He goes back down and he can't solve it. So we came up with it's exposure therapy. It's pretty basic, right? For him, was just like, okay, so should this 12-year-old memory still run the show at this stage? See the language I'm using, sort of industrial language rather than heal the inner child within. Like those words have never been spoken out of my mouth in my entire career. It's like, wouldn't it be good to grab that stupid memory and move it to the front of your brain? Like, doesn't that make sense rather than let it sabotage your best moments? He goes, yeah. Get her done, Stevie boy. And so I said, just expose it. Yank it out with the front brain, and best way to expose it is to tell a story. So tell your wife, or can you tell your kids, and talk it through, like make it like a safety talk that you might give to your supervisors. So he did. I said, here's the thought. If you would take like a page like this and just record every time you tell the story, but try to tell it with the front brain. Like you can make it interesting, but really monitor which brain is telling the story, and try to have the front brain tell the story. So I bet you once you recorded like one page, that memory will have moved from the back of your brain to the front of your brain, and you will never have that reaction again. And that was the truth. He never had that reaction again.
Wow. Okay. And I love this, man, because it's in the process of telling the story that the healing comes.
Yeah.
But also making sure you're telling the story with the front of your brain. So how do you tell the story with the front of your brain, not the back of your brain? From a victory standpoint, not a victim standpoint, that sort of thing?
Yeah, back in that, like I was trained a while ago. So before I got into my training, there was this thing called, like the encounter movement of the 70s. Their thought was go to retreat and wear too tight shorts. And then they even had this stupid thing called the bataka, right? Where you sort of hit this pillow and say, I hate you, mom. I hate you, mom. I hate you, mom. But here's my very simple neuroscience tip. Whatever you exercise gets stronger. Whatever you don't exercise gets weaker. So here they are in the 1970s at some funky retreat, taking mushrooms and hitting a sponge sword, saying, I hate you, mom. I hate you, mom. What are they doing to their brains from a neurological point of view? They are building a highway of hate towards their mom. There is no healing or resolution. And so I'm pretty strongly convicted on this, is that there is a way to process past memories that build mental toughness capacity, and you may not even shed a tear. It doesn't need to be funky. Because most of those historical memories are way past their due date anyways. You'd never drink that milk. Like that, and you've developed all this, like in this case, he was a 55-year-old amazing, competent leader of 120 employees in one of the highest risk, jobs out there, West Coast logging. And he was loved. And he was good at his job. He just had this one or two things that absolutely sabotaged his life. And that'd be the same for professional coaches, like for teams or athletes. They're amazing at their job. So their front brain has total capacity to run the show. However, they have these sabotaging memories that we call the memory X's are stored in the back of their brain that at any given moment, the brain works so fast, it goes, oh, we know where this landing pad is, snaps this goes, opens up the vault, pow, sabotage your life. Like we do that on a Friday night with our spouses, right? Everything's going good. And all of my wife back in the good old days would mean to say, hey, that Rob Z guy, did you respond to his email? And also like, oh, so you don't think I read?
Right.
Wait, which brain is that? Right. So my wife and I can be chilling. We're about to watch a movie or have a good time, right? I'm sitting and she's snuggled up under my shoulder, right? Life is good. The invoices are coming in. Like our kids are great. And all she has to go is say, hey, that Rob Z guy did, the Unstuck movement. Did you follow up on him? And I go, front brain goes, oh, not yet, but I've put him in my Trello account, so I'll get on him. That's front brain. Back brain goes, so you don't think I have what it takes? Mm-hmm. So you think you need to babysit me? Oh, so you think you think I'm just gonna like sabotage this opportunity? Oh, well, I'll show you. And I'll go, well, and how's your exercise program going, babe? It's like, and there you just ruined the next 72 hours of your life. But which operating system ruined your life?
Yeah.
The back.
Yeah.
Back. And so that's what we found in industry and in government, everywhere, is that really good people that have developed fantastic skills get sabotaged by this back brain unprocessed memories.
I'm glad we're having this conversation because this is something I was just on a podcast, somebody else's podcast before this podcast, and we were talking about whenever I'm doing coaching, it's always a professional setting, but it's always the personal stuff that fixes the professional stuff. It's the personal things that need to be addressed because that's the problem. The professional problem is not the problem. It's the personal stuff that needs to go back there and heal those things. And usually it goes back to all the time, I guess. Maybe it goes back to childhood. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time it's childhood. So it's really amazing, Stephen. I love it. I love it because it's so simple, but you're looking for those tiny glimpses.
Yeah.
Tiny, and people have those, it's a tell, like in poker, you have a tell, right? So you're looking for that tell, and nobody's ever asked them about it before. Everybody's noticed it. People notice it all the time, but nobody's been like, what's that about? And probably because in a social setting, that's not appropriate, and that creates defensiveness. But if that person's being coached, it's the right time to do it.
Yeah, I think it's our job. And let's scale it now for a second. So individuals have these stored memories. Families have them. I mean, I have memories that happened in my family line like 150 years ago that, if not dealt with, impact my decision-making today.
Yeah.
100%. And then organizations do, states do, cities do. And so, you have a city that, like say Marysville in Australia, that had 42 fatalities in one wildland fire. That community now has an X, has a memory X. And the community, as a community, needs to move that X if they want to move forward, or else they will be reactive in a funky way for the next 100 years.
Yeah, man, it can go community-wide. City. That's why you feel
countrywide. I mean, the United States has a massive X right now around the polarization of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
If you don't sort that out, Canada has a passive X. Like we're like, people always joke about us like saying sorry. Well, that's not funny. That's serious.
Passive aggressiveness.
Yeah, we capitulate all the time as a nation. So that's not front brain leadership. That's back brain reactivity. We're not confident in our identity, who we are as a nation. We don't have that. Yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
And so we capitulate as a nation time and time again on the international stage. And it's identical to what happens in a leader's life in their own personal world, right?
Yeah. It's so simple.
Yes. Usually the profound is in the simple.
I love it, man. I love it because that's the truth, and the things of God are simple, right? The truth is simple. It's not complicated. And our egos complicate it. The world complicates it, but things are, by and large, when you break them down, it's a pretty simple conclusion, simple answer.
Yeah.
Really amazing. We have to wrap this thing up, man, but this is so amazing. I'd love to hear more of the story. We'll have to do a second episode.
Please.
To take it beyond where it is now, because it's fascinating. And you just scratch the surface of like how this came to be. And
the weird thing is like, I'm the founder of Switchback, and these ideas are not new, but the way we present them with felt pens and paper and no PowerPoint, like it really makes it real, viscerally real, right? But I'm the number one client. I need this training more than most of our clients, because my story is a story of contrast. Like, am I a genius or a moron, right? And that debate, front brain, back brain debate, has been alive and well in my life, and that torment you don't want to pass on to the next generation or to your grandkids or to your community. You got to sort this stuff out. And so it's I love rewiring my brain.
Yeah, we all should love rewiring our brain. That's the growth versus fixed mindset, right? When you learn that you can grow, and it's healthy to grow, and once you get past the pain point of the growth, you feel so much better. Like addressing the elephant in the room, addressing the tick or whatever it might be. That's when you move through it. I say on every episode, pretty much, make your mess your message, and you are a living example of that. You took the mess, and turned it into a message that you help other people with. That's what we're supposed to do with that mess. And
every time we scale, I actually have to revisit it. So when we scale in the United States, and also working with the U.S. Forest Service, and we've got like 54, leaders in Region 1 in Missoula in the room, and we're facilitating the meeting. I have the tendency to I have the opportunity to blow it again because it's new. And I have in front of 51 people, and then I've had to try to figure it out, and sometimes figure out in purpose. And so a lot of leaders, like even in my vintage, they stop growing because they become uncomfortable with that kind of failure. So they'll stop traveling internationally. They'll stop like finding new clients or like putting their hand up to volunteer. And there is a very simple neuroscience reason for that. It's because you don't want to exercise that growth. And I understand. But in my simple world is either your world is shrinking, because that's what happens when you stop growing, or it's growing, but it's never neutral.
Yeah, man, you can't stand still. There's no standing still.
Yeah.
That's an illusion.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Stephen. Amazing. I can't thank you enough just for sharing. Sometimes this podcast amazes me. I have these sorts of conversations, and I meet people like yourself, and I'm like, wow, what a blessing. So thanks, man. Thanks for doing what you do. And thanks for, because you have free will. You have a choice. You could choose not to grow anymore, and you choose to grow.
Yeah. I honestly, I think right to the end. I mean, my parents have moved into our beautiful garden suite in our home, right? And my dad cuts our acreage lawn. I just bought him a new tractor, and just yesterday I saw him running full throttle at 87 years old, like doing donuts on the lawn, basically with that thing going. I'm going, attaboy, attaboy. because if he's not doing that,
Yeah.
he's having a nap in his chair in a nursing home, right? And so choose your poison.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so I think in the
Amen.
small and big, man, we just gotta keep grow, push ourselves.
Beautiful. So if people want to talk to you, they want to find out more, they go to switchbackos.com.
Yeah, that's the best. And if you do contact me, surprise, it comes into my inbox. So that is, we're kind of old school, but that's our very best way to get a hold of me.
Cool. I love it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
Thank you for your time. This has been another amazing true testimony of breakthrough. This has been the Unstuck movement.